So right now, Iran is furious with Ukraine because this country has said it's going to start supplying air defense systems to the Middle East. And they said that they're going to retaliate by firing drones into the skies of this country, which is kind of ridiculous if you think about it, given that has been what's happening every single night for the last few years. 61,000 drones fired at Ukraine in 2025 alone. And this country is probably the most equipped on Earth to shooting these things down. And this is the crux of what this entire issue is about. It's about shooting down drones. Taking a step back, the main reason that Iran is taking out ships in the Strait, which supplies 20% of the world's oil, the main reason that Iran has been firing drones at landmarks in Dubai, at logistics hubs, airports closed all across the Middle East. There's a tiny corridor, if you look at a flight map right now, which is the only way from Asia to Europe. The point of all this is to make oil prices skyrocket, is to make logistics and transport around the world impossible, because Iran knows that it can't destroy America. Iran knows it can't destroy Israel, but it can destroy Trump's reputation. And right now, everyone in the world is pretty pissed at Trump, and it's working. So he's under massive pressure right now to shoot these things down. And that is why he asked Ukraine for help. And this week, I wanted to find out exactly what these interceptors look like and how they work, because the technology here is constantly adapting and constantly evolving. So an interceptor is basically a rocket-shaped drone. It has a warhead at the top, and it flies incredibly fast and takes out targets. There are videos of this with organizations like Wild Hornets, incredible groups. And again, these videos are constantly appearing because Ukraine has been shooting down thousands of these every single year. And this is exactly what the UAE, what America, what everyone wants right now, the ability to shoot these things down. These are the exact same drones that are hitting ships, that are hitting hotels, that are hitting airports all across the Middle East. And in the last 24 hours, we've seen it's not just Shaheds. This video footage is maybe the first time an FPV drone has been used outside of the Russia-Ukraine war in action. It's in an airbase in Iraq, and it's looking around for targets. It looks like it might be fiber optic. And you can see here the moment that it takes out its target. And this is incredibly concerning for the Middle East, because most countries have no ability to take down Shaheds, and definitely no ability to take down fiber optic drones. So right now things are moving incredibly quickly, but I wanted to show you how these things actually work and how they actually look. So a few days ago, I spent time with WIY Drones. This is some of the footage I got with them on the outskirts of Kyiv. So this system here is fascinating. It's basically what the US has just asked Ukraine for right now. And it's an interceptor system to shoot down drones, the ones that have been plaguing the skies here in Ukraine for years. And now that these drones are flying into the Gulf US airspaces, everyone wants this. And again, the reason the rest of the world are asking for these systems right now is because they weren't listening to Ukrainians. When Ukrainians said that Shahed drones, that the type of war that Russia is waging is the future of warfare, they were left behind. And now they want what Ukraine has developed. And it was all done in systems just like this. The way it works is you put it on one side, you take it out of the box, assemble it, only takes a couple of minutes, and then you connect it to the ground unit. This thing can be assembled out of a van in minutes. And that is a good thing, because the Russians, especially across the front line, are constantly looking for these ground systems and to take them out. So usually they're hidden in trees. This one is just a demo. So once everything is ready, the guys go inside the van and they load up their operating system. And this is a custom-made system specifically for WIY Drones. By the way, this isn't sponsored. I was just very, very impressed with what they were doing. And they've developed their own technology, and most organizations around Ukraine have a very, very similar system. And what it does is it connects to the government radars in Ukraine, and it can track exactly where Shahed drones are flying and what their intended trajectory is. And as soon as that Shahed drone gets within range of the ground system, that's when the computer says to take off. This thing is incredibly fast. In fact, WIY Drones have developed the fastest drone flight test in Ukraine, reaching north of 400 kilometers an hour. And that is incredibly important, because what surprised me, and I didn't actually know about this, is Shahed drones fly south of 200 kilometers an hour. It's actually not that fast. This one here can fly about 350. And what they do is they chase the Shahed drone and they take it out from behind. And these guys are constantly working to improve this system. And it looks like a video game right now. The way it flies forward, you can see the target. There's augmented reality on the screen, so you can hit it with the help of the software. And they are constantly improving this software. And now they said they're going to start working on AI systems. So eventually, maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months, maybe a year, this entire process will be entirely automated. So that is how the interceptors work. But what I didn't realize is there's a second part to taking down drones that is actually just as vital, and that is detection. And if you look at this picture, this is another incredible piece of kit that was developed by Ukrainians in Ukraine. And this is basically a huge disc that scans the sky for millions of beams of sound, and it listens for drones. And it can detect not just the size of a drone, the speed that the drone is coming, but where the drone is headed, the intended target. And these things can be placed on top of buildings, on antennas, on the top of roofs. And as soon as they find out what's coming in, and they can also detect missiles, then they can alert ground patrol systems, and they can decide whether to use these interceptor rockets or whether to shoot them down with guns or whatever is most appropriate. So again, right now, the entire package is interception and detection, and Ukraine have the whole package. And all of this is what's headed to the Middle East right now. And again, there's a massive urgency in the Middle East because the interceptor systems that are currently used are incredibly expensive. It's Patriots that cost about $5 million per missile, and Iran has known all of this for a very, very long time. And that's why they've been stockpiling and making drones ready for this moment if they were attacked by the United States. And again, the main reason they're hitting hotels, they're hitting landmarks, they're hitting the Burj Al Arab around the Burj Khalifa, they're hitting the Palm Jumeirah, is because they want to make a scene. They know that there are thousands of holidaymakers around the world with phones that will take photos with that. And it will send a signal of chaos, complete disruption and chaos. And that is why so many countries are desperate for what is made here on the ground in Ukraine. And Ukrainians are feeling pretty good about this. They're feeling very proud. And I also asked the president about this a few days ago. I said, do you think that Ukraine has the cards now? And he basically said yes. So again, the situation in the Middle East is changing constantly. And Trump is under a huge amount of pressure to get it over with. Every single day that goes by, billions of dollars is held in the strait. Boats aren't crossing, and it looks like they're not going to be crossing anytime soon. And this could lead to a major crisis. I spoke to Bill Browder about this earlier on in the week, and he had a pretty bleak outlook. And also about the fact that Russia are having their sanctions lifted by Trump so they can make more money, so they can sell more oil. And that is not a good thing for Ukraine. But there's one part of this that has exposed Russia to the world in a new way, and that's that the drones that crashed into Cyprus earlier last week, the drones that crashed into American bases, were found with Russian parts, with Russian navigation systems inside of them. And this, just a week after an intelligence report found that Russia was supplying Iran, is supplying Iran with targeting information for American bases. This, just after multiple Americans were killed in bases in Kuwait all across the Middle East. And it exposed that the axis really exists. The axis that is with Russia, Iran, places like North Korea. When a country is attacked, Russia will come to their aid. And that's exactly what happened. And it shows that Russia is very happy to fire drones with parts in them, into EU airspace, into NATO airspace. And Trump was asked about this and shrugged it off and said it was a ridiculous question because he's still in a honeymoon period of Vladimir Putin. But at least the rest of the world can see what's actually happening. And my last point on Donald Trump is looking at his latest strategy, and that is an island called Karg. It's just off the coast of Iran, but it is incredibly significant. If you look at a map here, you can see it is totally covered with oil storage facilities, and that is because it's 95% of Iran's oil exports. It is the lifeblood of the Iranian economy. It's what pays the salaries for the armed guards. It's what pays the salaries of all the government employees and keeps the country running. And the US has decided to strike this island. But what's interesting is they didn't take out anything to do with oil infrastructure. They took out all of its defenses. And I think what's happening right now is Trump wants to use that island as a bargaining chip. He's just announced that he wants to deploy 5,000 American troops, and they're very, very likely going to end up on that island. Because if the US can seize that island, they can use it as leverage against the government to try and get some sort of capitulation. And another reason they didn't completely obliterate its oil facilities is because most of that oil, or a lot of it, goes to China, and the US doesn't want to upset China. So again, it's an incredibly precarious situation right now. No one knows what's going to happen next. Day by day, everything is changing. But I thought in this report, I would show you how those interceptors work, what they look like, and what this means for Ukraine and Russia. And I wanted to end on a question that I asked the president earlier on this week. And that was about a prediction that he made about a year ago this month in the White House. He said, if Russia isn't stopped, if the type of evil that Russia is waging on Ukraine every single day isn't stopped, then it will reach you one day. And it basically came true. Here's a clip. You actually predicted this at the White House a year ago. You said, if this isn't stopped, the kind of evil that Russia is waging, it will reach your soil.
I said that we will have World War III. The president didn't hear me. Russia began to support with drones, and it definitely will help with missiles. And 100% it's helping now with air defense. So it means what next? In such situation, the question is only one: when first country will support to send troops? Like with Russia, when North Korea sent 10,000. 10,000 North Korean soldiers are standing now on the territory of Russia. Yes, they are on the territory of Russia, but they can come to Ukraine. So it can be the same with Iran. Russia can send troops.
So thank you so much for watching this report. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you want to watch my full interview earlier this week with Zelensky, it is right on my YouTube channel, a couple of videos back. It's really great. It was fantastic to sit down with him. I've wanted to do that for a really, really long time. And in the coming days, I'm going to be doing a video talking about behind the scenes, how I got that interview and the build up to it and what it was like. So if you want to watch that, then definitely hit subscribe if you want to see how all that stuff works. And the last thing I'll ask is if you can leave a comment on this video, that would be amazing. A, I love reading comments. I read every single one, but B, it is incredibly helpful to the algorithm and helps grow this channel so more people can see what's going on in Ukraine. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.